taking your proper responsibility in the fallout of your kids.
Don't want to admit I'm wrong sometimes.
Why is that?
Don't like being wrong.
No one does. That's ownership.
I mean, there was a point in my life when I was concerned about everybody.
You're concerned about everybody as long as they sang to your tune, as long as they agree with everything you believe in.
Hey besties, welcome back to my channel. Have you ever wondered what it would look like if Kody Brown was actually held accountable for his actions, if he wasn't protected by a network like TLC? Imagine if he couldn't sit through those tell-all specials where he's asked soft, easy questions about the breakdown of his family, where he's free to gaslight, twist the truth, and dodge any real responsibility for what he's done, not only to his children but also to the women who stood by him for years. For so long, Kody has completely escaped any kind of accountability or consequence. He's never faced the law, never been arrested, and has managed to move freely from state to state while openly practicing something that's technically illegal. Because let's be honest, during the entire run of Sister Wives, Kody was committing the crime of polygamy. Now, I know some people argue that polygamy shouldn't be a crime, but legally it is. It's classified as a felony in the state of Arizona. It violates the Arizona Constitution. It's a felony in Utah, no matter how much they try to downplay it. It's a felony across the country, even at the federal level. And there's a reason for that. Polygamy puts women in a system where they're forced into submission. They're expected to obey their husbands and have little to no autonomy. In that world, children become bargaining chips, collateral, almost like property, while women are treated like something to be traded, exchanged, or used to elevate a man's spiritual glory. Women in that structure aren't partners. They're treated as prizes, as possessions, as tokens that symbolize obedience and control. They're stripped of rights, voice, and equality. And Kody thrived in that kind of environment, one where he could dominate and control. What's worse is that TLC gave him the perfect stage to do it. The network normalized it, platformed it, and in a way, helped him maintain that image of control. But now, he's finally being forced to face the fallout of his actions. And honestly, the only time I've ever seen Kody truly be confronted, actually pushed to answer for what he's done, is in this new Special Forces clip. For once, the people around him aren't buying into his charm or his excuses. I don't think you're being honest with me. I'm the discrepancy. I should have had a stronger relationship with my children. Finally, now we're getting somewhere. Someone is calling him out directly. So, what's he going to do about it? Music plays. And then Kody says something like, I'm at a place in my life now where I'm willing to admit I've been wrong. But here's the thing. When Kody admits he's wrong, I just can't believe it. It never feels genuine. It doesn't come across as sincere. Because if he really believed he was in the wrong, wouldn't he be taking action to fix the damage he caused? Wouldn't he be showing real growth? Instead, he's still doing what he's always done, performing. He uses tears as a shield, playing the victim, trying to gain sympathy by crying on camera. Those tears don't look like guilt to me. They look like shame that he's finally being exposed. And it's all just so self-serving. He's saying these words not to his family, not to the people he's hurt, but on a completely different show, in front of a completely different audience. To me, that's manipulation. It's the same act we've seen before, just on a new stage. It reminds me of how Robin cries every time she's confronted, turning herself into the victim to deflect the truth. That's exactly what this feels like, emotional manipulation. Kody says he's now at a place where he's ready to admit he was wrong, but just before that, he admits he doesn't take blame because he can't handle being wrong. He literally says he doesn't like being wrong, that he resists it. And then one of the guys tells him, you only accept people as long as they do what you want them to do. And honestly, that says everything. Because that's Kody in a nutshell, controlling, conditional, and still unwilling to change. If this same conversation took place on a TLC set, in front of the Sister Wives cameras, there's no way Kody would have said these things. He would never admit fault, not in a million years. The only reason he's doing it now is because it benefits him. It's damage control. It's about saving face, slowing down the public criticism, and trying to shift the narrative so he can look like the misunderstood victim again. But okay, let's continue. You taking ownership right now? My failures were because I didn't know how to be a good dad and husband, and I thought I did. I really thought I did, but I misunderstood that, and I did it wrong in so many ways. I hated being blamed for it, and that made me resist taking ownership. Let's unpack that for a second. What we're hearing here isn't vulnerability, it's self-pity. He's trying to make it sound like he's being open and reflective, but really, he's just rewriting the story to excuse himself. Strip away the emotional delivery, and listen to what he's actually saying. I didn't know how to be a father. I didn't know how to be a good husband. I messed up because I didn't have the tools. That's not accountability, that's deflection. He's essentially saying, it's not my fault, I just didn't know better. But here's the truth, he chose not to learn. He chose not to grow. He had every opportunity to become a better man, husband, and father. He just didn't want to. So basically, what he's saying is just another way to dodge responsibility, to make it sound like he simply didn't have the skills. It's his way of excusing bad behavior. But the truth is, Kody had every opportunity to learn how to be better. He could have grown, changed, and improved, he just chose not to. And when he says he resisted being wrong because he doesn't like being wrong, it honestly says so much. Think about that. He's admitting that he hated being wrong so much that he fought against it, even when he knew deep down he was the one at fault. That means from day one, Kody's always known he was the problem. He's just been manipulating everyone around him to protect his ego. Over the years, he's turned people into his mouthpieces, his little puppets who repeat his narrative for him. He's made them lash out at Christine, at Mary, at Janelle, and even at his own kids. He's blamed his children for not being obedient, blamed his wives for ruining the family, and twisted the story to make himself the victim. Every single time someone tries to tell their side of things, he spins it, lies again, and rewrites reality to protect his image. At this point, it's not even about confusion, it's about control. He lies because that's what he's always done. It's second nature to him. So honestly, how can anyone trust a word that comes out of his mouth? And what's really dark is this: if he knows he's in the wrong and still keeps blaming everyone else, then that's not just manipulation, that's emotional abuse. It's pure gaslighting, making others question themselves while he pretends to be the victim. It's disgusting to think about, especially if you imagine being in that situation as one of his kids or as his partner. Kody will cry on cue, use his tears like props, and turn on that sob story to make people pity him. But to me, it's all performance. None of it feels real. He still can't take genuine accountability, and that's what makes him such a sinister, cold-hearted person. Honestly, he's not just flawed, he's a villain in his own story. And then one of the men tells him, that kind of resistance, that refusal to take blame, that's a very adolescent way to look at life. Exactly. That line was perfection. Because what he's saying is that Kody acts like a child. He behaves like someone who never emotionally grew up, someone stuck in that immature mindset where everything is everyone else's fault. The guy even follows up and says, no one else is to blame but you. That right there, that's probably the most honest thing anyone's ever said to Kody's face. He's being told flat out that he's childish, that he needs to step up and act like an adult, like a man who actually takes responsibility. It's ironic, isn't it? For someone who constantly tries to prove how manly he is, his actions show the complete opposite. And personally, I can't imagine being married to someone like that. I look at my own husband. I couldn't even picture him treating our son, or me the way Kody treats his family. Even if you're not into gender roles, there's still this natural instinct in most men to protect the people they love. But Kody, he's the total opposite of that. He's not a protector, he's the kind of man who would stand behind his loved ones while they take the hit. He'd send them out first instead of shielding them. That's the kind of cowardice that shows who he really is. The only time he protects anyone is when it benefits him, when keeping them close means keeping control. That's not love, that's power. Now, I'm not sure what else is going to come out of this entire Special Forces conversation, and I'm not convinced these guys completely buy into what he's saying either. But one of the men did an interview after meeting Kody, and he admitted that from their very first encounter, he found him strange. Like, genuinely off. And that says a lot. Then, during another part of the show, one of the instructors tells him, when you really take ownership, that's when you'll actually start doing something about it. And honestly, that's the truth. Until Kody truly accepts that he is the problem, he's never going to change. He'll just keep repeating the same cycle, blaming others and pretending to be the victim. Later, there's another clip from Special Forces where Andrew East starts asking Kody about his life in polygamy, why he lived that way, how he feels about it now. And instead of giving real answers, Kody starts spinning more excuses about why he doesn't have strong relationships with his kids. I don't think most of the guys on that show even understood who Kody really was or what polygamy is actually like. They seemed genuinely clueless about the culture behind it. But here's the thing, polygamy alone doesn't make Kody the way he is. There are men who live that lifestyle and still act like decent human beings. Not everyone in that world is manipulative or cruel. Kody's behavior goes beyond the religion, it's who he is. He's detached from reality, delusional, and emotionally abusive. That's not polygamy's fault. That's Kody's. He's even tried to rewrite his own history lately, claiming that he was groomed into this lifestyle. But that's just another lie. He wasn't raised in polygamy. He grew up in a regular, secular household. His parents didn't even practice plural marriage until after he was already an adult. He made the choice to convert later. That was his decision. He went to public school, lived a normal life, and then decided to embrace this ideology after his parents joined it. So this idea that it was forced on him just doesn't track. It's part of the same pattern: deflect, blame, twist, repeat. Then there's this interesting moment where Andrew asks him about the pros and cons of his lifestyle. Kody responds, "Well, I had 18 kids with 4 wives. You see a downside to that? I've had 3 divorces. I'd never do it again. I'd never marry again." That line almost sounds like a confession, but again, I can't help wondering if Andrew was genuinely curious or just being polite. Because Andrew later said on a podcast that he found the conversation interesting, like he enjoyed hearing Kody's take on polygamy. But I can't help thinking, what if someone had actually pressed him further? What if they'd asked the real questions like, "You weren't actually legally married to at least 2 of those women, right? So how can you call them your wives?" Because legally speaking, when 3 of them left, he wasn't married to anyone. Not one. Sure, they shared property, but owning real estate together isn't marriage. It's an investment. Having a shared business doesn't mean they were legally bound as husband and wife. It just means they had a professional partnership. It was a business arrangement, not a marriage on paper. That's all it ever was. And honestly, it bothers me watching what these women have been put through, especially when you see them trying to get Kody to simply do the right thing. Whether it's paying what he owes or supporting their kids, they've had to fight for things that should have been basic responsibilities. I know I'm being a little technical here, but I really wish Kody would just call it what it is. Those weren't divorces. They were breakups. Spiritual separations, maybe, but legally, only one counts: his split from Mary. That's it. And when you think about that power imbalance, Kody being the only one legally protected, it's disturbing. He had full control. The women who weren't legally married to him had no rights, no legal security, and no way to hold him accountable. He didn't have to pay child support. He didn't have to cover rent. He didn't even have to take financial responsibility for their kids. By never being legally married, he created a loophole for himself, one that allowed him to dictate what they got and when they got it. If this were you or me, out here in the real world, we'd never let that slide. If a man refused to support his children or partner, we'd take legal action. But those women couldn't. They didn't have that power, and that's exactly how Kody wanted it. It gave him complete control. So, yeah, that's what really gets me. How that lack of legal connection let him manipulate everyone around him for so long. Then Kody says, "There ended up being some bad blood after the divorces, especially with my kids. Communication has stopped." He's asked why he chose that life, and he says, "I was a believer. I grew up in a culture that included it." Then someone asks, "Were your parents polygamous?" And he replies, "Yeah, my dad had 3 wives." But here's where it gets misleading. Kody's dad didn't actually become a polygamist until he was in his 50s. Kody was already 22 years old when his parents joined the Apostolic United Brethren, a fundamentalist offshoot. So no, he wasn't raised in a plural family. He didn't grow up seeing multiple moms or that dynamic at home. He grew up in mainstream LDS culture, went to public school in Wyoming, and was even a state wrestling champion. He attended BYU, though only briefly, and served a 2-year mission in San Antonio. None of that screams groomed for polygamy. He wasn't born into it. He chose it. As an adult. That's what makes his narrative so misleading. It's like he's rewriting his past to gain sympathy. Now, circling back to what he said about his children, it completely connects to what we heard earlier on Special Forces. Remember when he told the instructors that he doesn't like being wrong, so he resists taking blame? That's exactly what we're seeing here again. He won't take responsibility for anything because he can't stand being wrong. Instead, he blames everyone else, his wives, his kids, anyone but himself. He even said it's unfortunate there's bad blood with his children. Unfortunate! That word makes it sound like an accident, like something out of his control. But the truth is, his kids didn't just vanish from his life. He pushed them away. He mentions having no contact with them, but that's not because they shut him out. It's because he stopped showing up. Even McKelty has said in interviews that she'd be open to seeing Kody or Robin if they reached out. Christine, too, has said she wouldn't stop them from coming over. But that call will never come, because Robin and Kody don't want to face the truth. They don't want to be held accountable. And that's really the heart of it. Kody avoids connection because connection requires accountability. Then listen to this line. It's unfortunate that I don't have a bond with my children. Unfortunate? That's not something that happens to you. You create bonds. You nurture them. That's what parenting is. The responsibility for building that connection lies on the parent, not the child. It's never a kid's job to mend a broken relationship. It's the parent's job to be present, to love, to listen, to show up. When your child is struggling, you don't make it about your own feelings. You sit with them, you comfort them, you guide them. That's what being a parent means. As a mom, I think about that all the time. If my son comes home upset or frustrated, my first thought isn't, what is he doing to me? It's, what is he feeling? How can I help? Because that's what we're supposed to do, be their safety net, not another source of pain. So if there's no bond, it's because Kody didn't put in the work to create one. That's on him, not on his kids. And if he truly realized that having multiple wives and 18 children was damaging those relationships, then maybe he shouldn't have chosen that lifestyle. Nobody forced him into it. Nobody held a gun to his head. That was his decision. Now he's trying to justify his distance by saying things like, I won't talk to them because I don't want to be blamed. But that right there, that's the truth slipping out. He doesn't want to face his own guilt. He says he doesn't have a connection to them, but that's because he never worked to build one. He feels nothing, and that's the most heartbreaking part. If he genuinely cared, if he truly felt remorse, it would show. He'd be fighting for those relationships instead of running from them. Personally, if I didn't have a relationship with my son, I don't even think I could function. My heart would feel ripped out of my chest. I wouldn't be able to eat, sleep, or breathe knowing that bond was broken. But Kody, he carries on like it's just another inconvenience, another thing he can blame someone else for. And that's what makes it so disturbing. So yes, that's my take on it. Tell me your thoughts down below. I really want to hear how you feel about this situation. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and click that bell icon so you don't miss the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Love you guys, by Bestie. Yellow Heart.